Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, our live demonstration, CyberSaint crosswalking, NIST SP 853 to CIS Top 18. My name is Ethan Bresnahan. I'm the marketing director here at CyberSaint, and today I'm excited to be joined by CyberSaint VP of Solutions Architecture, Steve Torino, and Senior Sales Engineer, Michael Blumreich. We're so glad that you can join us for today's webinar, and with that, I will hand things off to Steve.
Hi, my name is Steve Torino, and I'm Vice President of Solution Architecture here at CyberSaint. I want to thank you for attending this webinar and also provide some background information before we jump into a demonstration of the solution. Crosswalking has been a longstanding challenge in the industry. The reality is that organizations are subject to more than one cybersecurity framework or standard of practice, depending on things like the jurisdictions where they do business, the industries in which they participate, and the types of customers with whom they wish to do business. Most of these standards are covering domains and controls that overlap, at least to some extent. And in theory, this overlap should make things easier to the extent that we can kind of be sure we comply with the control from one framework. We should be able to map it to controls from another framework and know that we've satisfied that requirement as well. In practice, it's a bit more complicated. Although the controls across two or more frameworks may cover similar content, they often have subtle differences. So for example, let's take vulnerability scanning as an example. A framework like NIST might allow for the frequency of vulnerability scanning to be customized to an organization-defined frequency, whereas the corresponding control from another framework may specify the frequency at which vulnerability scans are to be run, so something like once a week or once a month. Yes, those controls do map to each other, but the subtle difference in frequency makes them not an exact match. Another example could be control inheritance. So most of us by now are probably using some cloud services to operate our business. One of the benefits that comes with that is inheriting certain security controls, such as server patching and an infrastructure as a service model, for example. However, there are other controls for which a shared accountability model applies. In other words, we might inherit part of a control from a CSP, but still have to demonstrate requirements around things like maybe access controller configurations in-house. So what's really critical here is to understand the gap between any two frameworks. And organizations have taken various approaches to finding these gaps or doing crosswalks in order to make their lives easier, because as anybody who's done these exercises knows, it can be really challenging and time consuming. Larger, more complex organizations might roll out something like a large common controls framework, or basically a superset of sorts that can be manually applied across dozens or hundreds of frameworks even. And others might try a method like to rely on the limited set of publicly available crosswalks that are published by authoritative sources like CIS, AICPA, even the informative references to the CSF from NIST. Unfortunately, this is very limited and not available for most frameworks at all. And yet others might work with consultants, bring consultants in and have an engagement to do the crosswalking that they need. What you're going to see today is a demonstration of CyberSaint's unique approach to crosswalking. So whether it's an example of how we can leverage pre-published templates to automate those industry accepted mappings just at the click of a button, or how to use our patented natural language processing technology to create your own templates from any framework to any other framework by identifying control associations with AI provided confidence levels, you're going to see a real world solution that's been custom built to automate the manual and time consuming process of crosswalking controls across frameworks. I hope you enjoy the demo.
In order to start a crosswalk, first we're going to go to the administration page. So to do that, you're going to click in the upper right-hand corner on administration. And by default, it's going to take you to the manage assessments page. So next, in order to start the crosswalk process, what we're going to do is we're going to locate the crosswalk icon for the parent assessment. And that is going to be in the right-hand column in this actions column over here. And then from there, we're going to essentially select the framework we're going to crosswalk from. In this case, I'm going to choose NIST 853, click the crosswalk assessment icon. From here, I'm going to select the target framework. So what this is going to do is automatically map the controls from the selected assessment 853 Rev 5, and it is going to map those responses to the selected framework and create a net new assessment. So in this case, I'm going to select CIS controls and subcontrols V8. From here, you have the choice to select which type of mappings you want to pursue. So what we're doing here is through a natural language processing model, we've essentially determined a level of confidence for the mapping. So you can choose mappings over 80%, mappings over 90%. If you want to choose your own mappings, or if there is a mappings template already created, then you can choose either empty template or that other template option if it is available. I'm going to choose empty template. And then from here, you can do a couple of different things. You can either go control by control and use the confidence score to essentially, again, create your own mappings for the crosswalk, or you can just add top mappings for each control, which I'm going to do here. Next, I'm going to click into the control, excuse me, and at this point, I'm able to go through and review, again, that confidence score. I can, select additional mappings if I want, deselect them. I can go control by control. This is not required when you select one of those templates or you use the select top mappings. And then from here, I can go to next step. At this point, all that is required is I name the new assessment and then make a selection of if I want to keep the assessment synced or not. And what this means is if I do keep this synced, it comes down to assess once and apply to many. So any changes I make to the parent assessment will automatically be rolled down to that child assessment. Or if I keep it unsynced, then essentially they're going to be two standalone assessments. In this case, I'm going to keep it unsynced, and I will show you what a synced assessment looks like momentarily. From here, I'm going to submit my crosswalk. And here we have a new CIS assessment created with a 93% project completion. The mappings themselves, you can go and look at this. If you go to controls and then into an individual control here, you can see that we have crosswalk history available. So this is auditable in nature. And then if you're wanting to, again, if this is a synced assessment and you're wanting to make changes to what you're seeing here, I'll show you what this looks like. If I go back to my assessments. So in this case, this is a synced assessment. When I go to a control, you'll notice I don't have the ability to change this, but I can go to crosswalk history and update the scores at the parent level. And this will automatically be carried down to the child level here. So a lot of different options when it comes to the crosswalking functionality within the CyberStrong platform, allowing you to seamlessly assess once and apply to many within the solution.
Thank you everyone for attending today's webinar. As always, if you're interested in learning more about CyberSaint's AI-backed crosswalking capabilities, please feel free to reach out info@cybersaint.io or visit us at cybersaint.io. We'll see you soon.